Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I know it's been a little while since I did one of these monthly favourites. I should probably call it something else, maybe like bi-monthly, but I am back with another one. So if you guys have been following me on this channel or on Instagram for a little while, then you'll know that I've recently switched camera. So I used to shoot on the Canon 6D Mark II religiously. That was my main body. I did have other cameras such as the Lumix S1, the Canon EOS 650D. I have a link in the description with my full camera kit so you can kind of have a look at what I was using. But I recently did that switch to Sony. So I know the switch to Sony is a well kind of documented thing on YouTube. I feel like everyone ends up doing one of these. I switched to Sony videos, but you know, I'm not going to be an exception to that rule. So I switched to Sony in June and we are now in August. So I thought that this would be a good kind of short-term review point. I didn't really want to make this video until I had chance to kind of try out the Sony and see, you know, if I liked it or not. I had a lot of inhibitions about switching to Sony. So obviously all of my glass is Canon. I've used Canon since I started photography, so a good 4 going on 5 years now. And I think it's really easy to just stick with what you are familiar with and what you enjoy using. So that's kind of where I was at. That being said, there were some restrictions that I was finding with the Canon 6D Mark II. And don't get me wrong, I love that camera. I still use it as my second body. I'm shooting on it right now because of the articulating screen. But there were some things about it that were kind of restricting me. So notoriously, Canon's not massively good in low light situations. I shoot a lot of events, weddings, where low light situations are bound to come up. For me, that wasn't always a massive issue. It was just kind of something I'd learned to deal with. The thing that did cause me to eventually switch was the fact that I was doing more and more video. So if you guys saw the homage series, the first phase that is up on my YouTube, you'll know that I had started to kind of experiment in video. It's something like film photography that I'd wanted to get into for a long while, and I'm still a massive beginner with. I do have the Panasonic S1, which is amazing for video. It shoots up to 180 frames per second. I was gifted that by Panasonic when I was in partnership with them, and I did really enjoy using it. Unfortunately, I couldn't really get behind the stills that it was producing. I found it a confusing camera to use and it was really heavy. Not just that, but the lenses were a lot more expensive than the money I kind of had available. So making that switch to Lumix wasn't really a viable option for me. And because of this, I was in the situation where if I wanted to shoot video, and I was trying to shoot video more often, and I still am because I'm trying to practice, then I'd have to be taking at least 2 cameras with me. And if you guys know about the Lumix S1, it's a very heavy camera. So having both these cameras, these lenses, and then if I wanted to shoot film, having that with me as well, you know, it was a choice between, do I want to shoot video or do I want to break my back? So honestly, that is why I switched. I wanted to experience the Sony video functions, features, and start practicing with my video skills. And that was the big point for me where I was like, right, okay, I need to invest in either a Canon that shoots good video or I need to switch to Sony. And after speaking to a couple of photographers that I knew who were shooting on the Sony A7iii, I decided to go for it. So I mentioned earlier that I had a few inhibitions about switching to Sony. So of course there's this whole color science thing. I had been really hesitant to switch because I thought, you know, color is a big part of my work. I implement it a lot and I wasn't really looking to change the way I use color. I'd heard all this stuff about Sony not really being the best camera for color and Canon color science being, you know, the best on the market. But a photographer I know sent me some of his raw images to have a look at. And I was actually really surprised at how little the color science differed. If you are watching this video and you're thinking about switching from Canon to Sony and color is one of the issues that you're having, I don't think it's an issue. Editing can do a lot, especially if you're shooting in RAWs. That actually brings me on really nicely to shooting in RAW. So the RAWs on this camera are massive. So if you don't have a good storage system, then definitely get one. I've been using the Toshiba 4TB hard drives. I've got like a handful of them now, and you definitely need them. I had a Lacy 1TB or 2TB or something recently, and this Sony just filled it up like within like a couple months. I will link the hard drives that I use in the description, because you will definitely need a decent storage system if you're going to be shooting on Sony. And of course, the whole idea of menus. The menus on Sony are confusing. It did take some getting used to, but you can make kind of a personalized menu. So I just kind of put the things that I use most often onto that menu, and it's kind of easy from there on. You just have to take a little bit of time when you first get the camera setting it up. In terms of focusing, I'm using my Sigma 35 for Canon on the Sony with an adapter. So the focusing isn't amazing for me because I'm not using a Sony native lens. Autofocus is a game changer, especially when you're shooting wide open at like 1.4. Very often you can kind of miss focus. You want to be focusing on the eyes and you miss that focus. With the Sony A7 III, using eye autofocus is definitely helping me nail those close-ups. I'm going to put some examples up on the screen so you guys can see. Obviously the camera is mirrorless and the viewfinder is electronic, and the images do look different to what you will be used to if you're shooting with Canon or a full frame camera that's not mirrorless or whatever. It took me a little bit getting used to, but now I actually prefer it. When I first started using it, I thought it was really weird and dark, but I actually do like that now. Apart from in studio is something that I'm struggling with, but I do believe that there's a setting on the camera where you can turn off the kind of like way it exposes it through the viewfinder, because obviously when you haven't got your lights on in studio, the viewfinder is showing it just as like black. Another thing I love about the camera is the fact that you can save like different video modes. So if I want to shoot 120 frames per second, then you just switch it onto like whatever one you've saved it to. And then if you wanted to shoot, I don't know, like 60 frames per second, then you just switch it onto the other mode. So it's quite seamless. Something that I found with the Lumix was that I was having to go into the options, and it was taking a lot of time between switching between shooting slow motion and shooting normal footage. But I'm gonna flash some images up on the screen so you guys can kind of see what it's like for photo. I'm really liking it for low light. I'm really liking it for the sharpness of the camera, the focusing system. Especially, I've done a couple of events with it so far, and the low light capabilities I'm really impressed with. I was shooting at like 9 PM and it was pretty dark, and you look at the photos, it looks about 6 PM, 5 PM. So I'm really pleased with that. I'm really happy with that. I do plan to do a more long-term review in the future, so I will keep you guys updated. But yeah, I just wanted to pop in, and I thought this was a good monthly favourites kind of episode to talk to you about a camera that I've really been loving this month and for the last 2 months. Do you shoot Canon? Do you shoot Sony? Are you thinking about making a switch? Let me know in the comments. If you already shoot on Sony, do you have any tips for me? Anything that I haven't kind of spoken about that I might not be aware of? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to have that discussion with you guys. But thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, then please do. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I will see you guys in the next one.